All right, all right, all right. Real talk, USA, real talk, where we talk real, real facts, real information. We're a balanced program. We're not too spiritually minded and we're no earthly good. I bring people on my stage to share what they're doing in the community. And this program on this stage is called Unveiling of Superheroes. I'm shining light on some people in the community here in USA, all over here. I'm shining the spotlight on the ones here in USA. I'm waiting for a notification right now too. I'm shining the light on them. It's their time. God wants them to be revealed. The things that they're doing in the community is marvelous. It's marvelous. They're changing lives of people. They're touching the lives of people. See, that's what God does. He changes the lives of people for the better. These people have a passion for the things of God. They have a passion to do things, positive things in our community. They're making a change from one person to the next person to the next person, but they're getting the job done. They're getting the job done. Well, God would have me to shine the spotlight on a Mr. Preston, Mr. Darren Preston. I had the pleasure of meeting him. Just give me a minute, and I'm going to share with you how I met Mr. Preston, this gentleman. He's a gentleman, beautiful wife, and 3 children. Just a minute while I just share these things real quick. Unfortunately, I have to do this. But Mr. Preston, he's not a native of Champaign, Illinois. I'm going to let him tell his story. He's not a native of Champaign, Illinois. But I happened to meet Darren, some years ago, several years ago, when I went through a treatment program. And he was a beacon of light for me, an example. When you go through treatment, they hold classes, and he was one of the counselors that taught with the people that are in treatment, and he helps walk you down the path of where things went wrong. It shines light on your situation, and it helps you to better understand what was going on inside of you, or what's going on inside of you, to help you to be better, to help you to overcome addictions. But I happened to meet him, such a quiet man, very quiet and very humble, but full of power when he speaks. He has authority when he speaks. You would never think, and the things that he's doing in the community. Some people here in Champaign probably have never heard of him. I'm telling you, by meeting him, you wouldn't know that the things that he has done or the things that he's doing, because he's not a showboater. I so happen to have met someone that have that have been long time friends of his, and he doesn't know this, but his friend shared with me how he was in a bad position where they come from. I'm going to tell where he's from. And he pulled him out of that situation. He was able to he likened it to him being in a fire. He said Darren pulled him out of the fire. And I thought about how Jesus saved the 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, out of the fiery furnace. See, Darren he's a lifesaver. He has a passion. And he said, yeah, he came and pulled me out of the fire. Yeah, I've been knowing this. He don't know, I know it. I've been knowing it for a long time. But in this man that he pulled out of the fire is doing good in the community. He's working, has a job, living life. I tell you, people like that, you want the spotlight to be shined on them. They're superheroes. They are superheroes. And I'm unveiling him today. But I'm going to bring him on real quick. Bring Darren, Mr. Preston on. Hey,
Good morning.
how you doing?
Doing well. Doing
Good.
well.
Yeah, yeah. See, I was sharing with them some stuff you didn't know I knew about you.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes. But God placed you on my heart. See, a lot of people, because I'm a woman doing what I do, I bring men on because men are you all are authoritative, let me get it. You got
Authoritarian.
right in the earth. I couldn't get my leg. We're early morning. You authoritative figures. That's what I want to say. Authoritative figures in the earth. Okay, Jesus came down as a man, so you are that figure. And I tell you, and to be, to do the things that you do. I wanted to bring you on and let the men know that, hey, you're doing this, the things that you're doing, you're going to be sharing, and that there's so much room for more. There's so much room. There's so much room. We need more. We need more.
Right.
And yeah, and I want you to share, because I know you have 3 children. I'm correct, and you have 3 boys.
Yes. Three at home.
3 at home, yeah. I thought so. I thought I was right. And that means some handsome young men, and you're leading them by example. A beautiful wife. I mean, I tell you, and you participate in our recovery programs and things like that. So, tell us where you from and everything, and just go forward. And I'll be asking you questions, because
Okay.
we want to dig deep in you. Go ahead, man.
Okay. Well, thank you. First and foremost, want to thank God for allowing me another day, um, walking this earth and
Yes.
to be as blessed as I am.
Yeah.
Also, I originally am from New York, and I'm getting a lot of feedback. Hold on a second.
Okay. That's
Let
fine.
me see
Adjust
if
what you need to adjust. That's fine.
can you hear me?
Make sure I'm not
Okay.
up too loud.
Yeah, I'm just getting a lot of feedback. I'm hearing myself.
Really? Yeah, I know that's weird, isn't it? Yeah, do what you need to
So
do. That's good. Hmm.
I'm originally from New York, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Um,
Hmm.
3 siblings, brother, sister, me. I'm the oldest. I had 26 cousins. My grandmother had 10 kids, 26 cousins. So we tended to do what the men did, the role models. And unfortunately, a lot of that was street life. So I, tried to do my best in school, but I gravitated towards the street life.
Hmm.
Long story short, by the time I was 16 or 17, I wasn't doing what an average 16 or 17-year-old should be doing. I was running the streets. I was out there selling drugs, using drugs.
Hmm.
Um, so that went on for a long time. From then, fast forward till my 30s, I ended up in Raleigh, North Carolina,
Hmm.
and I was actually homeless on the street.
Wow.
And I was I was actually begging people for money, panhandling, and so it was real bad. And
Hmm.
at some point, I just looked up to the heavens and I said, God, if there is a God, you please help me get out of this because I don't want to live anymore. And that was May 27, 2003. And from that point on, I've not picked up another drug, another drink. Guys changed my life tremendously.
Hmm.
And a year later is when I moved to Champaign, 2004. And
Uh-huh.
as you mentioned earlier, I'm in recovery. So
Uh-huh.
I've been doing the recovery for a long, long time. I got involved with speaking in jails. in Champaign County for 7, 8 years. I did that.
Man.
Um, and it was just something that was put on me to give back what was given to
Mhm.
me, because again, where I came from, there was no way out. And once I found a way out, I was fortunate enough, blessed enough. God said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you another opportunity. Now
Right.
take advantage of this opportunity and do something with it." And
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing ever since. Uh, I sponsor some guys,
Mhm.
which is, it's amazing how things work. They say if you could help one person, and how that, how you throw a rock in the water, and that ripple
Right.
effect.
Mhm.
So the guys that I work with, they work with other guys, and they work with other guys. It's just a big, huge tree. Actually, you see that tree up there?
Yeah.
It's a big tree. Me and the guys that I sponsor, and just the things that I do, and I don't take any credit for it. It's not of my doing. It,
Can you?
again, if you
Mhm.
came from where I came from and been through the things that I've been through, you know that some other power is working here. You know, because
Mhm.
I couldn't have done that on my own. And that's leading up to what I'm doing today currently. Um, I just noticed, in the jails and speaking to the inmates, and a lot of the guys were in there for drugs, probably 90% of them drugs and alcohol. And I would meet some of them when they got out, and there was no transitioning of, I'm leaving from here and I'm going to go somewhere where it's safe. It was, they had to
Mhm.
go back to their community. And I said, man, it would be nice one day. And I said this back in 2000 and maybe 13. I said it would be nice to help them in a way where they have a safe place to stay, and you know, it may
Right.
be not in the best neighborhood, but they know where they're at. It's safe in there.
Safe.
And it was just a thought.
Mm.
And fast forward a couple of years later, um, God said, well, look, maybe, if you stick with it, it'll happen.
Mm.
So I said, okay, I don't have any money. You know, I I don't have a place. How would I do something like this? And lo and behold, you know, currently we have two recovery houses, and it's called Recovery Happens, and it's here in the Champaign Urbana area. So
Recovery happens. That's the name
Recovery
of it.
Happens.
Recovery
Yes.
happens. And just amazing. When I met you, I never knew that you had these things going on because of your humility, the way you carry yourself. You're not flamboyant. It's I know you're geared towards what your passion is, and that's to help other people and help other men. So
Mhm.
I mean, it's awesome. What can I ask you? What? How did you get here to Champagne? What drew you here? What happened where you just was just dropped out the sky here? I'm gonna say dropped out
Well,
the sky.
well, you know how it's social media and whatnot. So back then I was on AOL and doing all that chatting, and I met someone, and that's how I ended up here.
Mhm.
But I knew that I didn't want to stay in New York. I had outgrown that. I was there 30 something years. I said, I want a different, change. And I was in recovery, and I was doing, you know, things different. So I think God pulled me over here, you know.
So
So that's how
we
I
can
ended up
honestly
here.
say things just don't happen to happen. It was a reason why you happen all the way from New York. You haven't you even had that New York. Like you and there's another lady I'm connected with. Y'all have this it's just I mean we're in the United States of America, but your lingo is like totally different. Your style of speaking is a lot different. Um, I wanted to ask you now. It's called Recovery Happens. So, and there, do you have programs that you run in recovery happens? What kind of programs do you have that you run? What kind of things you do
Well,
in that?
the way that we function
Hmm.
is we help the clients get back to being responsible. So we do have um, house meetings with the clients.
Hmm.
We have recovery meetings, and then the clients themselves have to get out and get, to meetings, to support groups, church, all that
Hmm.
they have to do on their own as if they were living on their own. You
Oh,
know, um, we we don't have any kind of shuttle bus or anything like that that takes them. They have to
mm,
do this to get them to transition into being more responsible.
right.
So we provide them when they come out of treatment. We provide a structured environment for them. Um, they have to do chores. They have to. They have curfew. They have to make support meetings. We have a sheet for them to get signed.
Mm,
Again, along with our house meetings that we have. And if they're, dealing with any kind of mental issues, anything like that, they have to make sure that they're setting up their own doctor's appointments, just things
yeah.
that they would normally do if they weren't in the recovery
Hmm.
house. So we just give them that little assistance of a structured and stable environment for them to be in. And the program's a year long. So for that time that they're there, they're
Hmm.
getting acclimated back into society. They're getting used to working, saving money, going to meetings, going to church, and doing those things. We suggest for them to get a sponsor, a recovery sponsor to help guide
Hmm.
them through the
Hmm.
recovery process. So
Can you can you
that's what we
can
do.
can you just elaborate a little, because there's people that are watching probably don't know much about uh, what the recovery program is about. There might be somebody watching that really wants help and don't know how to do it. Can you just give a little feedback on what sponsorship, just give them a little insight on
Okay.
recovery, the program and what sponsorship is.
Okay. Now, if first of all, if you go look up the history of those recovery 12-step programs,
Yeah.
it was based, the first ones that started was based, they took some pieces from church,
Hmm.
um, and just a lot of different things and came and put it together. So
Mm.
one of the things as a sponsor, what a sponsor does is they help guide the person
Hmm.
through the 12-step program. Um, Average people could use this
All
because
right.
what it does is it
Come on.
helps you to see the mistakes and the things that are not necessarily good for you in your
Mm.
life. You know what I mean? Like a person that's addicted to drugs and alcohol, they don't necessarily, they're like the last to know that they have an issue. You
Mm.
know, like if you would ask someone, oh, let me screw up my life and become homeless. People won't say that. They didn't think that that was going to happen. But once you get caught up in it, you don't have control once you're addicted to drugs and you're an alcoholic. You don't have control. So
No.
when you get in the recovery process and a recovery program, a sponsor helps guide you and helps you see some of these traits and some of these habits. And that's all sponsor, someone to guide you through the program and the steps that you actually go over and you write down things about what you've done, who you are, why, because a lot of this stems back to childhood. And, you might
Right.
have been abused physically or sexually or, just things that have happened to you that's kept you locked in your mind and
Yeah.
not allowed you to move forward in life. So a sponsor is just someone to guide you and help you, to get over that fear and that hump of doing life, and not staying stagnant.
Yeah. And I know sponsors, now that you mentioned sponsors, usually are people that have more clean time than the
So
person that they're sponsoring, right? The
absolutely,
sponsor,
yes.
sponsee, yeah, they have more
They,
clean time.
yeah,
Go ahead.
there's someone that's been in the program that's done what you've done, been through what you've been through. So they're telling you,
How
okay,
to do. Mm-hmm.
this is what I've been through, so I can help you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you go look at scientists and doctors and scientists still can't figure out how how to stop alcoholics and addicts from using. They there's no cure, so they don't know. You know, what? How can we stop this person from doing that? You know, there's but if you get with someone who's been there, who's done that, who's stopped, and whether they've done it, you know, 12 steps program is not the only thing that's helped people, but whether if they did it through church, right? If I got clean through church and the pastor had helped me and they had some kind of program, that would be a way for someone to say, hey, look, this is what I've done. This is how I've gotten clean.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, actually, speaking of that, I had a program in my church. I had a small group where I was
Yeah.
helping people addicted to drugs and alcohol
Yeah.
at church, and you don't see that a lot. You
Uh-uh.
know, I had a small group from my background in recovery. I was
Yeah.
helping people that had issues in church, and it was a small group. And that, you know, that was even before I had the recovery houses. And that was something that even fueled me more to say, you know, there's people in all walks of life. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people see just people in the streets and running and ripping and selling drugs. They think that those are the only
Mm-hmm.
people that have problems. But no, I was talking with people who was churchgoers and, you know, working and families and kids, and they still had issues with drugs, excuse me, and
Yeah.
alcohol. So
Yeah. You made some good points because when you look at you look at people in leadership, even if it's a pastor, because a lot of people, God raises up people that have gone through the drugs addictive behaviors, that have gone through using drugs and stuff, raise them up, and they're pastors over churches and stuff. So and they can walk them through the principles of life because the 12 steps are principles. They're life
there you go.
principles,
Yep.
that we should live by, and it helps get them through, like you said, some things in their childhood, because that's where some of it comes from, things from trauma. Some of the trauma comes from childhood that we're still dealing with. And I remember you saying, I don't know if you remember this. We were in a meeting, and I was sitting behind you, and you turned to me and you told me, you said some of them are sicker than others. That resonated with my spirit so heavily for a long time. Like now, when you're talking, the Lord brought it back to my remembrance. And you were so right on with that. Can you explain a little bit about that? You said some of them are sicker than others. Can you explain just a little bit?
Well, that's just like with the recovery houses, right? I'm not God, so
Yeah,
I help people. So for me to judge and say, well, you know what, that person's got some real issues. I can't. No,
yeah,
some of us are sicker than others, so we need a little bit more help. You know, we
mm,
need a little bit more push, a little bit more guidance. Think
yes.
about that. God don't give up on any of us. So that's, I need to take that model, and that's the meaning behind that. Some are sicker than others.
And see, that's why people like you are needed in our community. Because see, there's a Rosecrans, there's different facilities around here in Champaign that house people with treatment, and they're just 30-day programs. Some of them have the whatever's, but we need more, because a lot of the violence is coming from people with drug addiction. A lot of it's coming from that. These young people on drugs too. They started at 16, 13 years old using drugs, 12. Like, what? The stuff I was using is like, can you just imagine an 11, 12-year-old high on heroin, high on crack? You know what I'm saying? High running around with a loaded gun. You know what I'm saying? Marijuana, they putting fentanyl on marijuana now, and it will kill you immediately. You take a hit and you die. Like, and so it's people like you that are needed in the community. Dollars need to be going to help build more houses, or people, buying more of these houses to help people get on track. And a lot of this violence will stop. You're the catalyst. So I'm unveiling you. Yeah. And yeah, people, good morning. Good morning, Selma. So yeah, there, and so I tell you, I done just flew off. Just flying, let me fly back down to earth. But yeah, so it's good. Yeah, some of them are sicker than others. They need more than 30 days. They need maybe a
Absolutely.
month, 2 months, 3 months. And if your household, they're able to be productive, get them a job and get stable, because it's like a foundation. They unstable. I know I was unstable. I ain't gonna lie. I was I was unstable, mentally unstable. I had lost my mind, and I need to be pulled back down to planet on something solid.
That's
Because you're
right.
in this program, you can choose who you want to serve. As far as you can choose, if you what you believe in, as far as So it gives you, and this God gives us a choice in the Bible. He said, choose you who you want to serve. This program just walks it down for you concerning some other issues. But I like the fact that I don't know how long does your program go? Is there a cap? Once they get stable, I'll let you kind of tell me how you do things in
Okay.
your houses.
It's a 1 year program.
Wow.
Um, so the time that they get in, there's a 30-day probationary period.
Uh-huh.
So in that 30 days, we want to make sure that you are following the rules. We understand that you're just coming in, you're just getting in from treatment. So you have some habits, some bad habits. So in those 30 days, we want to put you on the right track, getting used to looking for a job, getting
Mm-hmm.
a job, waking up every day, cleaning, doing your chores, making curfew. Um, so by the time 5, 6 months rolls around, you should have a great habit of doing life, being responsible, saving money. Um, and
Right.
then we, gear them towards the year. When the year is coming, we meet with them and we're talking to them about, okay, what's your plans? And when a year comes, it's not like, okay, your year's up, you have to go. We make
Right.
sure they're prepared to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a little ceremony for them, completion of the
Oh.
program. Oh, yeah. And we eat and
Uh-huh.
cook depending on what time of year it is. We might be outside if it's summer. If it's winter, we'll be inside. So, yeah,
That's
we've been
awesome.
open. We've been open since December 2017, and we've had 12 completions of the program. And there's numerous men who didn't stay the full year, but they're still doing well today. Because sometimes
Mm.
guys don't stay the full year.
That's good though.
A couple of
Mm-hmm.
them get early completion. Some of them move back with their families. They were married, and so
Right.
this depends on the individual. But
Uh-huh.
uh, but we at least tell guys, look, it's not going to hurt to stay a year, because the first thing guys do is they say, a year? That's a long time. Then I ask the question, well, how long were you out
Uh-huh.
there doing your thing? Oh, 20 years, 15 years,
You
five
need that.
years. Said a year to get your life back on track is nothing. And
Mhm.
the power of, you know, the program and God is when they are in that process, when they start seeing all these benefits and all these blessings, then they
Yeah.
say, wow, this was the best decision I made. And it's
Uh-huh.
not even about me in the program, just
Uh-huh.
the lives are changing,
Right.
and they're like, I never thought that this would happen. You know, we've got guys that's come
Mm-hmm.
from nothing when they came in the program to they have their own house, they driving, they're working, they got their family back, they're, giving back to the community. We
Right.
had one guy started up, just trying to talk to young guys, a mentorship thing. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just him doing his own thing, nothing um, big, but just, trying to help in the community. And it's a blessing to see that someone changed their lives and they're going around trying to help others.
That's it. Yeah.
So,
That is so awesome because, I'm gonna tell you, when you coming out of that wild place, you coming out from drugs and doing stuff, you're unstable. You don't have an ID. You don't have a social security card. You know, you barely have clothes on your back. You know, don't have
That's right.
soap, the necessities. And see, and
Yeah, actually,
yeah.
I was going to say I went to the DMV
Mm-hmm.
and I spoke to the head guy at the DMV here in Champaign. And I said, well, look, I've run a program. And I said, a lot of guys that come here, they don't have any IDs. I said, could it be a way where, I give them a letter of residency where they're staying at our program? And so if they bring that letter there and their license or ID is not suspended and it's
Yeah.
within a year and they don't have it, they'll give it to them without having to go through all these other hoops and everything.
Yeah.
So
Man,
that's right. Yeah. A lot of guys come in, they
that's
do not
awesome.
have, I believe that they don't have IDs. They taken from my own experience. I remember, for 5, 10 years of running and ripping and drinking and drugging. I didn't have a job. I didn't have ID. I didn't have bills. I wasn't responsible at all. So
Man,
that's not
I know.
uncommon, you know.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we have the same kind of background. I know, I know. Yeah. And those are the kind of things that happen, when you just throw things away. You just don't care about yourself, about others. Yeah. So that's awesome. And I encourage people whoever are tuning in and whomever are watching this live session, replaying this session, that Darren, I'll be posting his information. I'm sure he has a way that you can give and help sponsor what he's doing. I'll be posting that stuff, because these men, like I said, they're authoritative figures in the earth for us, and this is to help the men. And I'm sure Darren has some aspirations to help to do some other things, because women are out there. I know he had some things going on for women, but this right now he's doing the 2 houses for the men. And Darren, if you could tell me just a little bit about how your houses are made up, the structure of the houses, how many bedrooms, and how the facility is kind of run, as far as when you come in and become a part, living in the house.
Okay. So each house has 6 clients when at capacity,
Mhm. How
and
many?
it,
How many did you?
6.
6. Okay.
6 if we're full capacity. There's 12 clients, 6 in each
Okay.
house, and it's 2 in a room.
2 in a room.
2 in a room.
2 in a
So
room.
um, most, not most, all the guys work,
Mm-hmm.
all the guys save money, and that's just how the house is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
It's a
Okay.
regular house. It's not.
Just
Um, yeah, it's not like a facility. Or nothing. It's a regular house, and guys
mhm.
have keys, come in and out. So
Good. So it's just like if they had really just had roommates in a, just an apartment with a roommate. Yeah. So I tell
the
you,
thing
it's better
is,
than sleeping on a bench at a park. It's better than sleeping in a flop house with drugs and they dealing drugs all over your head, folks smoking, and then somebody might come in shooting. Or yeah, the police might come in raiding. You know what I'm saying? It's better than you got food to eat. You know, you got toilet
it's
paper to wipe your behind on. Go ahead.
police. So
What you
what
say?
I did when we first started the program, I called the police precinct and I asked for a sergeant. And I gave him the addresses of where we were going to have the houses. And I said, listen, you may see a bunch of guys on the porch smoking cigarettes, hanging out. I said, this is a recovery house.
Yeah.
And the cops knew that that's what those guys were doing there. We've not had a problem since, not had an issue, you know, because if you see a bunch of guys standing in front of a house, a lot
Yeah.
of times people say, okay, something's going on over there. You know how it is here in
Right.
the States. So,
Right.
yep. And guys sit out and talk and, just there's been no issues. And that's a beautiful thing to be. And
Right.
some of them, the recovery houses in the neighborhood, not the best neighborhood, but where it's at, people see, they know, what
Mhm.
these guys are about. And that's a good thing that nobody messes with them. It's just a great atmosphere. And one of the things about having all these guys in the house together is the camaraderie. Um, these guys do life together. Some of them go to church together. They help each other in their recovery. You know, it's they cook together. They eat together. They just do things that normal people would do. But they just getting in recovery and changing their lives. So it's a great thing.
That's wonderful. I tell you, you're doing some great things. I mean, wow. And I hear about you, through people. Recovery happens, and it's a popular. The name is so popular in the community. I know there's a few other houses that they have, but the two that I know, yours and I think is Win Recovery, with some women. So you all are, doing some great things in the community, but God wants to shine a light on you in what you're doing concerning the men. And just wanted to just go back a bit. You talked about, the things that you had done. What kind of drugs did you use? What kind of drugs were you using back when you were uh, on the streets and doing your thing?
I was addicted to crack, cocaine,
Mhm.
and heroin for
Mhm.
more than 10 years of my life.
More than 10 years. You so polished, so well spoken, you know. So that just is just a testament of what God can just do in your life and how you so focus driven and things like that. Yeah.
One of the things important too is
Mhm.
people outside of the recovery community, right? Because I've been to the Champagne board meetings, and I've been to drug court and spoke to the judge. A
Mhm.
lot of people that see people that's on drugs and alcohol, we have a stigma. You know, those
Mhm.
people can't be helped, or people shun us.
Mhm.
But when they see someone who's been there, like I said, if I were to tell people one time I had the blessing of speaking in front of my church,
Yeah.
and the people in church only knew me from coming to church. They had
Mhm.
no idea that I was homeless,
Mm.
that I used to smoke crack, I was on heroin. They had no
Mm.
idea. And that's, God gets the glory for
Yeah.
pulling me out of that. And he's allowed me to live two lifestyles in one lifetime.
Wow.
So when people put that stigma on people, we have to remember, we don't give up on each other.
Right.
God doesn't give up on us. Jesus didn't give up on us. He came to help the downtrodden
Yes,
and
he
and
did.
those in need. And that's what we have to do. Because
Mhm.
remember, some are sicker than others. So some of us need more help,
Help.
you know. And that's what I, they blessed me to do, to start these recovery houses, to give these guys some help.
Mhm. I tell you. You've shared things I didn't even know. I mean, yeah, because I've been in meetings with you, and we open up and we share deep things. In those meetings, you are able to reveal. You feel more comfortable because you're around people that have gone through things that you've gone through, so they understand and they're not judging. But when you are around certain people, you can feel rejection. So rejection, it hurt. It's a hurt spiritually. It hurts. You can feel that thing. I can. Because people look at me, but if I tell them all the stuff I've been through, they'd be like, oh, especially it could be Christian people too. People that name the name of Christ too. Them the ones hurt the most. It's kind of like, well, well, how did you get to know? But I'm just shining. I'm just being honest. I don't know what I done been through. But I would have never known, Darren, that you was even homeless at one point in time. Just never know, like, wow, I've been that way too, never
Right.
knew that. Wow. And you go back to where you from and got some people out of the fire. You brought some of the people that that have come from where you come from. You brought them here. Am I
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah. And can help them. See, that's what it's about. Hey, God helped you to go back and help somebody else. You ain't just got all the spoils to yourself. You trying to share, say, look, this is a good life. Come on, come on. You pulling them
Right.
out. I'm telling you, I met somebody that said he came back and pulled me out the fire. And he's doing well, working, doing good, you know. And you being an example, you know. Yeah. How'd you meet your wife? Your beautiful wife. How
I
you meet your wife?
I met her through her father.
Through her
Um,
father.
her father and me met at recovery meeting, and the recovery community, we do functions, and when we had
Mm,
parties and Christmas celebrations, people come to those celebrations. So it was a New Year's dance, and
New Year's dance.
her her father came with her and her sister, and I met her there. And then a couple of years later, we ended up dating, but we met that particular day back in 2011.
Y'all been married? Yeah. How long you been married?
We got married in 2000 and excuse me, 2012. But
12.
we've been, yep.
So yeah, that is, and see, that's one thing about the recovery aspect. You all have New Year's parties, New Year's Eve parties, and there's things you can get involved with, outside of just going to the meetings. It's like a sisterhood, a brotherhood, you know, just like just like the army. There's the Marines. There's a brotherhood in the Marines. It's like
Right.
yeah, it's just community. And what's special about it, you help one another. Whatever you can do, it's like service work. You call it service work, right? To help one another, especially in sponsorship. So that's really good. I know you talked about your childhood and things. I know we're winding down, and I wanted to ask, in your childhood, you had both parents. Were both parents actively in your childhood? Did you have both your
No,
parents?
no, my
Yeah,
mother was a single mom of three children. I grew up with my mother and my grandmother.
mother and grandmother.
So my
Hmm.
mother was an active alcoholic, and
Hmm.
my mom never worked in her life.
Really?
My my mother was on welfare
Hmm.
my whole childhood,
Really?
and I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn. And
Wow.
you know how they say some people, like, if you're poor, you really don't know that you're poor. You're living,
Hmm.
enjoying life the way, So I never went hungry, anything. We never didn't have stuff for Christmas or Thanksgiving. We did all that stuff and we enjoyed life. Excuse me. But as I got older, I realized it was certain things that I couldn't get that other kids had. And that was because my mother didn't have a job.
Mm.
And, you know, I thought about it and wondered, well, why they could
Mm.
afford that and we can't. But it was a thought. That's just, we couldn't afford it. But I loved my childhood. Like I said, my grandmother had 10 kids and I had 26 cousins.
Man.
So everybody came over to grandma's house
Hmm.
where I was there. And I didn't look at it as, I was underprivileged or I didn't have. I looked at it as, that's just the way I grew up and the way things were, you
Right.
know.
Was your dad a present? Was he present in your life any?
My dad was around, but him and my mother weren't together.
Mm.
So actually, to tell you the truth, my father died of a heroin overdose.
Really?
Died of a heroin overdose, and one of the things that happened that resonated as far as I said to myself, and I was still using drugs when he died.
Mm.
But we never think that it's going to happen to us.
Hmm.
So I just said, I don't want to be that, be like him. And die. It took me another 8 years to get clean after he passed away. But I do remember when he passed away, I definitely said, man, I don't want to go out. I don't want to die that way,
Like, mm.
because when he passed away in New York City, if you pass away and no one claims you, they put
Mhm.
you in a place called Potter's Field. And
Really?
that's where my father was at until someone from the family uh, went and
Exhumed
claimed
it?
his body. Hmm. Yep. So
Wow. 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 So you talked about your reckless behavior as a teen because we're dealing with a lot of the violence, the teen violence in the community. A lot of it is a young people. I was just noticing the other day I saw they call it four deep when you got four people in the car, and I see these little young brothers, you know, four deep, and I was like, I'm looking at them like they look like they up to something, you know. I'm black. I'm not stereotyping, but it make you wonder because it's shooting all up in houses up this way. We trying to stop it, no matter if they're black or white. It is what it is. Um, so you being of age, being young, what was your turning point? What caused you to just crumble under pressure? What kind of things, if you wouldn't mind sharing, because see, this is informative, maybe something said could help somebody. We trying to help somebody,
it's just
what happened?
life. I was going to say life. It wasn't, in my eyes, it wasn't worth living the way that I was living anymore. So
Mm,
it was either make or break. Either you're gonna live or you're gonna die. And going back to the youth thing, a lot of the youth, one, as a man, it starts with the father. It starts at home. It starts with someone, that we can reach out to these youth and reach out, because a lot of our, especially in America, the history of what's happened in this country, our people, Black Americans, are a lot of us are lost.
mm,
It's quick to fall into the drugs and alcohol and the education and to go to school and a lot of that, when we gravitate towards that street life, then the life of, okay, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be, and there are some of us that do that and go that route, but far too many of us go a different route. And I just look and say that as a people, we have to continue to invest in our community and continue to reach out to these young teens and youngsters and
yeah,
start early, you know, to instill in them that, look, man, you are worth something. You know, you have a rich history. You mentioned that
be
this is being
somebody.
fed to Africa. You
Mm,
know, we have a rich history, a diverse history, to where if we know where we came from, then we can stand for something. You know,
mm,
um, so that's something that is so important that even with the men that I work with, I encourage them to go back into the communities and to give back and, help these teens, try and be mentors
give
and,
back.
you know, oh yeah, oh yeah,
Mhm.
100%. Because I tell them, look at the opportunity you've had, you've done something different, you changed your life. Now go back and spread some seeds, help somebody.
So would you say, because some of these young people are dealing with abandonment issues. I find that a lot of murderers deal with abandonment as young people. As young. Did you feel like you were abandoned because your father wasn't present or your mom was on her own doing her thing? Do you feel like you had your grandmother there, but it's not like having both parents? It's something God placed parents, my father and the mother, for a reason. Do you feel that you were abandoned, which caused you to go astray? Do you feel, I just want to hear your view. There's no right or wrong answer. It's what you feel in your heart. Mhm.
Because and not so more so abandoned, but searching for that love, like having two parents, right? You got your mother and your father, and you
Yeah.
see that unit. That's a beautiful thing. But when you don't have that, you have
Yeah.
just a mother. There's, yeah, I want a father. I want, where's my father at?
Mm-hmm.
So you gravitate towards the guys in the streets, or
Yeah,
look up to them, and they'll adopt you. When
they
that
sure
right, they'll take
will
you in.
use you
You
too.
know, but
Yeah,
oh yeah, so we're always searching and looking for stuff. That's why
validation.
mentorship programs are good things, because if you look at
Mhm.
the Black community, there's an issue with a lot of single moms. So
Yeah,
so those kids are they don't have that father figure, and that's invaluable to have a father figure or have your dad there to show you and teach you. You know, a father or mother, they're not going to tell you, hey, I want you to grow up and I want you to become a drug addict. No, they're going to say, I want you to go to school. I want you to succeed
mhm.
in life. I want you to do the right thing. To have two parents, that's better than having one. So, um, not saying that one parent, you won't be a success and your life won't turn out good, but there's nothing more valuable than to have a dad in a small child's life, especially a male, to guide him and show him the way. So it wasn't an issue as far as I didn't have a dad there. And I'm not going to say I felt abandoned, um, but I did question why I didn't have a dad and my friends had a father and a mother, you know. So I looked for that. Um, I looked for that guidance and stuff other places, and a lot of it was in the street.
Yeah, yeah. And that, as you were talking, I was thinking, the father and mother, even if the young person doesn't do what they say, at least they have a chance. They have the opportunity. You got one on one side to catch them, and then you got that on the other side to catch them, even if they're not together, because sometimes marriage don't work. There's divorce, and like my parents were divorced when I was 14, and you still can be divorced but still raise your children and be effective. you know it can be effective. You might not agree on certain things, but it still can be some things effective. And then not only you got the mom, the father's not in the picture, and then you got the mother that's not functioning. So they're there, but they're not functioning to their full capacity because they don't have the father there to help. They're hurting. And so it's just so many dysfunctions. You wonder, is there a function? Is there a fun? No, there's dysfunctions, that we can just try to pull things together to make it work, to get the child through certain parts of their life where they're lost in identity. They're lost in who they are.
I was going to say too, you take that young child, right? And
Hmm.
people wonder, man, how can a teen, what are these teens doing? Why are they, acting like that? Why are they out there shooting up? They could identify probably more with a male figure than mom who cares about them and who loves them. And it's like, mom, you don't understand. Mom, but
Yeah.
when this male over here says to them, hey man, come here, man, I got your best interest at heart. It's another
Mm.
male, another man. So they'll gravitate towards that, even though mom is doing the best she can with what she got. But
Yeah.
it's just not, because my mom, I look at the way I was raised. My mother did the best she could with what she had, but there was times where I wouldn't go to my mother and talk to my mother about stuff that was going on in my life because she was a woman. This was my mother. You
Yeah.
know, I wasn't showing her, the full me. That's how
Hmm.
sometimes we say we don't understand these teen kids, because a lot of times they get their teen, they're going through so much stuff, and to have
Yeah.
just that one parent there, it's
Hmm.
difficult, for teens. So that male figure and that father figure is very important. You know,
Yeah. You're so right, because you find a lot of the drug dealers and people out there that are doing the wrong thing. They make it look so good, but they don't tell them about going to prison for. Some of them will go for life.
for life for 20 years.
Repetitious offenders. There's death out there. There's so much at the end of that rope. You see, because you're gonna come to the end one way or the other. You gonna come to the end of that rope. You keep doing what you're
That's
doing.
right.
You keep doing what you're doing. I find most drug dealers, they might be dealing the drugs, but they using drugs more than the people they serving. They might be selling one thing and using the other.
and do something else. Can I touch on one other point?
Sure, go right
Okay.
ahead.
Now, growing up in Brooklyn, New York,
Yeah.
I never ever thought that I would go anywhere other than where I was at. But
Really?
you were talking about the feed and who's listening and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to actually go to Africa.
I got that written down. Go ahead. You
I was
flowing.
fortunate enough to go to Africa,
Yes.
and that was one of the biggest blessings ever. And it was I was in South Africa where our plane landed, but we were going to Swaziland on a missions trip, and I've been there 3 times. But the blessing was to take a kid from Brooklyn, New York, who was addicted to drugs, homeless, no hope whatsoever, and for God to pull me out of that and have me over in Africa. I could not have asked for anything more. Like my life, no one of my family's ever been there. No, it's just, and most Americans, especially Black Americans, they would only dream to go because the stereotype that we hear about Africa,
Yes.
and it's a beautiful, beautiful country.
Oh, isn't it?
And like I said, I kissed the ground when I was there
Oh,
because
really?
I had purpose and meaning. Now I know where my people and my heritage, where we're from, you
Right.
know, not
Right.
just saying it, but I've been there, you
Right.
know. So that was just a blessing. And how everything worked out and how I ended up going on that missions trip. None of that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't, gotten clean, was in recovery. I was in
Right.
church and met someone who was going
Yeah.
and doing missions trips, just all those, and we could say a coincidence, but just all those things that lined up for me to be
Mhm.
able to get involved in that and go. And it's just a blessing, man. God has blessed me
Yeah.
so much
I
and put so
know.
many things and people in my life. That's one of the reasons why I started the recovery houses, because I said, how can I give back? How can I help people so they can help people? You know?
Right. I sure did. You was only because I was exactly what I got missions down here. I'm gonna mention that because that's one thing you and I connected about. We talked about that going, and I didn't even know you've been to South Africa, and I had been, and we were like, what? I was like, really? So yeah, isn't it a beautiful place? And I'm like you. If I hadn't got clean and sober, I wouldn't have went either. And that's the benefits. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something? I want you to talk. Yeah, you want
I
to say
was
something?
saying that's correct, because you
Oh, yeah.
living in America, like that's a far out dream. Like, oh, going to
Hmm.
Africa. And we don't want to go because of all the stereotypes and all the things we've seen. It's not where they promote it and say, hey, you go to Africa, it's a beautiful place. Only if you go and see how beautiful the country is and how warm the people are. And, just like any other place, everywhere has its problems and its issues. But it is a beautiful country. And I would,
It is.
like I said, I never thought that I would be in Africa.
Mm.
One day, the sun was setting and we were about to go back to we were about to go back to the guest house, and I was just standing and looking at the sunset and just in awe of where I was at. And I was saying, talking to God, and I was saying, "Wow, God, you have me here in Africa watching the sunset." I said, "What more could I ask for in life?" You know, and I
Mhm.
that's why I do what I do. He's blessed me, and that's my mission. Help
Yeah.
someone else.
Yeah. I tell you, when you talk about Africa, I know that's my destination. I think I'm gonna be a part. I'm gonna live there. Yeah. I mean, it's just you're so right, and the people are so wonderful. I mean, I was treated so special. It's like I'm in getting my COVID because you have to have a COVID test before you come back. So I was there and getting my COVID test, and they heard one of the doctors heard my voice, and she said, "Is there an American in there?" They talk, and I mean, she came out just to greet me, and I mean, it's just an awesome experience. They treated me like they had known me for years. Some of the people were so inviting. I mean, I'm just excited about going back. I just know it is what it is. I'm excited because it's so beautiful, like you said.
Uh,
It's not what people
Real quick,
say.
the
Mhm.
organization that we dealt with over there is called AIM Adventures and Ministries, and
Dang.
AIM Adventures and Ministries
Mm,
and Children's Hope Chests. And when we, got there, the guy that runs it, his name is Matt Garber. He's from South Africa, but he lives
mhm.
in Swaziland. And there are lots of people from America that go on a regular basis. But
Really?
one day we were at the house having dinner, at his house having dinner. We're about to wrap up our trip. And he said to me, he said, we have a lot of people that come here from America and they help and they do things. He said, but you're the first Black American male that's come on the trip. He said, and for them to see a male from America is a good thing
Good thing.
because it's women, white men,
Mhm.
white women, black women, but they've not had a Black American male come. So I was privileged to hear him say that, and just him telling me, because we deal with kids there, because Swaziland has the highest rate of orphans in the world.
Really?
So that's why the missions trip was,
To them.
why we end up going there. So
Mm.
they have a lot of orphans. So for them to see a male figure, and there's some teens there and everything. So I'm still in contact with a lot of them now on social media and whatnot. And these young men are doing a lot of good things for their community. And some of them are even raising kids by themselves because their parents have passed away. Um, so yeah, like I said, when he told me that, that was just something that
Man.
it's like, okay, I know God's got a big purpose for me, in life. And I'm so blessed.
Well, I'm looking forward to going to Swaziland. I love children, so I'm going to Swaziland. Yes, I am. I'm gonna have to connect. You gotta give me this information because I want to be able to post some of these things, especially to donate to you. I'll be talking to you when we end the session. I'm gonna pull you backstage, and I'm gonna just end and come back, and we're gonna talk. But yeah, I need your information, and I want people to be able to sow seed, meaning give to what you're doing. I don't believe God would have unveiled you just to be unveiling, but just so that people can know that you're doing something special. You're doing something special, and you're helping these young men that's out here. You're helping these men that are on drugs, that think that they're not worth anything. You help building them. We need people to lift them up, encourage them, strengthen them, and you're doing all of the sort. And then you're going over to other countries. You're building in other countries. God is really using you. I had no idea till we talked. You had been to South Africa. And people look on my time. I've been there too. I'm going back. Woo! I can't wait. I'm excited. And yeah, I want to go to Swaziland like Darren. Yeah. So is there anything final you want to say? Anything you need to say now that you want to end this note on before we end the broadcast?
Well, just again, thank you for having me
Mhm.
on to share part of my story and to share, what I'm
Mhm.
doing and how God's worked in my life. Um,
Yes.
I just urge your listeners, your followers to, not give up on those who are less
Right.
fortunate, especially those who have had their issues with drugs and alcohol. Because as you can see, me and Shanna, if you can see, we've, been on the dark side. Now God's pulled us out.
Mhm.
So uh, we are giving back and we're helping others. So yeah, just try and have an open mind about it, because again, those that are into that are drinking and doing drugs, they've already feel bad enough, but a lot of people look down, and that's where the hopelessness comes from. But
Mm-hmm.
if I've shared anything, there's a power greater than me,
Right.
and he can do all things, and he doesn't give up on us. So
Mm-hmm. That's right.
just do what you can to help and help others, and just like I said, I'm just humble and grateful that I was asked to
Mm-hmm.
come and share my own story.
Yeah. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Darren Preston. Recovery Happens is the name of his program and the houses that he runs. And I encourage you all to, be a blessing to him, give to this, to what he's doing, with the programs that he's doing in the community. And I thank you for making the sacrifice to get up early in the morning, because my program is early. So I thank you, and I pray God's blessings be upon you, that what you've done here, the seeds that you've planted will grow into people, and that they will draw to what recovery happens so that they can recover, and so things can happen in their life. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, could we do something real quick? I'm going to ask you and your listeners, could we just have a moment of silence for
Yes.
those that are still suffering? Okay,
Yeah.
just a quick moment of silence. All right,
Yes.
thank you.
That was so awesome. And as we did that, I thought about somebody I know that's still suffering, and that God will move on them. So thank you. Thank you for, and that's something we do in recovery. That's something we do in our meetings. So thank you, Darren. So I'm just pull you back behind the scene. Okay? So just wait on me. All right. So that was Mr. Preston, and I'm going to end the session and talk to him for a minute before I let him go. But I hope and I pray that something has made a difference in your life, and somebody that's listening that might be struggling with something, struggling with an addiction. An addiction. You see two people that have been on this screen this morning, or this replay that you're watching, that have been down in the dirt, that have been homeless, that have been on drugs, and have been to South Africa. God has taken us to Africa and going to take us to other places. You know, there's things you can do in your life. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible in God. Especially when you turn your life around, when you allow good things to happen to you, because you're worth it. When you allow God to do the things in your life, you're worth it. You're worth it. You're worth treatment. You're worth recovery. You're worth recovering from whatever you're going through. You don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to throw in the towel on yourself. You can give yourself a chance and make a choice to surrender. But I'm going to end it there. Have a wonderful day and be blessed today, okay? Bye-bye.